I started to listen to AM radio and like KHJ, which was like top 40 radio, and I listened to like Elton John and the Sweet, and then I had this little cassette deck, like one of those like dictating ones, you know, they're kind of the rectangles in the front, and I used to make my own tapes of my favorite songs. And that song by the Sweet, the Ballroom Blitz, was like my favorite tune. And so then I would like and then I'd play back the tape, and it's just like, how come Ballroom Blitz always turns out really bad? Like, that song is like so heavy, you can't even record it. And then now I think about it, it's like I had the stereo so loud, because I would put it next to the speaker, that I would distort to like, oh yeah, this is my favorite song, I'd crank it. And then so it was like, you know, it'd be like Elton John, looks like Daniel, you know, and then Ballroom Blitz would come on. How come I never figured it out until later, like why did those tapes turn out like that? Then I made the jump to FM. And I got into Kiss. I was really into Kiss and Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, like all this heavy music. Van Halen. I remember when the first Van Halen record came out, and that was totally hot. And I got into just, you know, like really heavy music. And then I moved to Washington in 1979. I was 14 years old, and I moved to Aberdeen. And the junior high schoolers, they were listening to like AM radio, and they were listening to like Kenny Rogers and whatever's on the radio, and I'm just like, I was so way past that, and I played, and then our math teacher let us play music in class, and so it was my day to bring music, and I brought an 8-track tape of Aerosmith Rocks, and everybody laughed at it, and I'm like, you don't get it. And then sure enough, 3-4 years later, I'd like go to parties or like with like a kegger in the woods or whatever, and there'd be Aerosmith Rocks just cranking. But then I was into like way past that, even though I still love Aerosmith Rocks. I mean, it was in 1982, I met Buzz Osborne and Matt Lucan, and they were in this band called the Melvins, and I was working at a Taco Bell. And when there was this kid, Bill, who was expelled from Aberdeen High School because he lit off a pipe bomb. It was nuts. I don't know why the heck he did it.
Could be in jail for life.
He was
now.
like expelled, which was like Bill Hull was his name. And so he knew these dudes were from Montesano. And so Bill worked at the Taco Bell, and he put a CH at the end of Bell on his hat. It's a Taco Belch on it. And like so, these dudes came in with like, you know, with these like armbands on, or kind of like these wristbands, and they were in like punk rock music. And I've been like, back then there was like a cultural chasm. Like, if you were into punk rock, you were really weird, and you could get beat up, right? There was like the establishment people who were like, hey man, we're into the good old music, you know, driving around in Camaros or whatever, and the punk rock people are on skateboards, or I drove Volkswagens. See, I always been, you know, Volkswagen. I drove a Volkswagen bus. It was Buzz. He lent me his generic Flipper record. Flipper, things come full circle. We're going to play with Flipper down the street tonight, and I put this record on. And I go, what is this? This is just really weird. It sounds bad. Like, where was this recorded? Like when I was a kid with a little like, you know, cassette thing, and and then on the third time, of all places, I was laying on a waterbed. I'm laying on this waterbed listening to Derek Flipper, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is like total art. And I had this epiphany that there's mainstream convention. It's like, the rock band, you need to do this or that. It's like, you can do anything you want. It's just, and you can take it or leave it. And so that was the epiphany about punk rock.